Do you feel it? That creeping sense of being overwhelmed? You try to read a book, but your mind wanders after a few pages. You sit down to work, but a notification pulls you away. You want to connect with your family, but your phone is always there, buzzing in your pocket. It feels like something is broken. It feels like your ability to simply pay attention is slipping away. You might think this is a personal failing. You might tell yourself to just try harder, to be more disciplined. But what if it's not just you? What if this feeling is not a sign of weakness, but a symptom of a much larger problem? A problem that affects all of us, every single day. We are living through an unprecedented attack on our attention. It is a silent invasion, happening in our homes, happening in our offices, happening in our schools. It comes through the screens we hold in our hands and the devices that surround us. Every buzz, every ping, every notification is a small cut, chipping away at our ability to think deeply. This constant stream of information creates a state of perpetual distraction. Our minds are being trained to crave novelty and to jump from one thing to the next. We are losing the capacity for sustained focus, the very skill that allows us to create, to learn, to solve complex problems. This is not an accident. There are powerful forces at play. Imagine your focus as a spotlight. In the past, you could direct that spotlight onto a single task for hours. You could immerse yourself in a project, lose yourself in a story, have a deep conversation. Now that spotlight is being splintered. It's being pulled in a dozen different directions at once by algorithms designed to capture it. These systems are not built to help you. They are built to keep you scrolling, clicking, watching. Your attention is their product. It is a valuable resource that is being mined and sold to the highest bidder, leaving you feeling drained, fragmented, and unable to concentrate on what truly matters. The consequences are all around us. We see it in rising rates of anxiety. We see it in rising rates of burnout. We see it in classrooms where students struggle to engage. This isn't just about feeling a little distracted. This is about a fundamental shift in how our brains operate. We are losing something precious, something essential to our humanity. The question is no longer whether this is happening. The real question is, what are we going to do about it? Can we reclaim our stolen focus? Look back just a few decades. Picture a world without the constant hum of digital noise. People read newspapers on the train, children played outside. Work involved long stretches of uninterrupted concentration. It was a world where our minds had space to breathe, to wander, and to think without being constantly interrupted. That world feels like a distant memory now. Our modern reality is something else entirely. It is a world in fast forward. Today we are bombarded. Our senses are under constant assault from every direction. There is no off switch. This overstimulation creates a kind of background static in our minds, making it nearly impossible to find silence. We have been conditioned to believe that being busy is the same as being productive, that multitasking is a skill to be proud of. But the science tells a different story. Our brains are not designed for this. They are designed for monotasking, for focusing on one thing at a time. This shift has been incredibly fast. The first iPhone was released in 2007. In less than 2 decades, smartphones have completely rewired the fabric of our society and, with it, our minds. Studies show a dramatic change in our ability to concentrate. In the year 2000, the average attention span was measured at 12 seconds. By 2020, it had dropped to just 8 seconds. That is less than the attention span of a goldfish. We have traded the depth of our thoughts for the speed of our clicks. We are becoming masters of the superficial, while losing the patience for anything that requires real mental effort. A world where no one can focus is a world that cannot solve its biggest challenges. How can we tackle climate change, political division, or economic inequality if we cannot even concentrate long enough to understand the issues? How can we build meaningful relationships if we are only ever half present? The death of attention threatens our creativity, our productivity, and even our democracy. It is time to pause and to ask a critical question. In this world of endless noise, is deep, sustained focus still possible? And if so, how do we get it back? To understand why our focus is breaking, we first need to understand how it works. Think of your attention as a single, powerful spotlight inside your brain. When you decide to focus on a task, reading a report, listening to a lecture, having a heartfelt conversation, your brain actively works to illuminate that single activity. It channels its limited cognitive resources to process the information, make connections, and think deeply about what is in front of you. At the same time, this attentional system has another crucial job. It must filter out everything else. It builds a protective wall around your spotlight. This is called selective attention. It's the reason you can read a book in a busy cafe, tuning out the clatter of cups and the chatter of other patrons. This ability to ignore distractions requires significant mental energy. It gets tired just like a muscle after a workout. Why are our devices so irresistible? The answer lies deep within our brain's chemistry, with a neurotransmitter called dopamine. It's more accurately the motivation molecule. It drives our desire to seek out rewards. It's the chemical that makes us want, seek, search, get a small reward, then seek again. This is the very system that technology has learned to exploit. This concept is known as a variable reward schedule, the same principle that makes slot machines so addictive. Because the reward is unpredictable, our brains release more dopamine in anticipation, making the urge to check almost impossible to resist. Why would your brain want to spend hours working on a difficult report when it can get an instant jolt of satisfaction from a few seconds of scrolling? Our brains are being systematically retrained to prefer shallow, immediate pleasures over deep, meaningful engagement. This dopamine-driven feedback loop is not a side effect. It is the core of its business model. Our brain's ancient survival mechanism is now being used against us, trapping us in a cycle of distraction for profit. The pathways we use most often become stronger, like a well-trodden path through a forest. The pathways we use less frequently become weaker and overgrown. Our constant state of distraction is not just a bad habit, it's actively rewiring our brains for a state of permanent fragmentation. This multitasking is a myth. The brain cannot actually focus on two cognitive tasks at once. Instead, it rapidly switches its attention spotlight back and forth. This process, known as attention residue, means a part of your mind is still thinking about the last task, even after you've moved on. Our thoughts become shallower. We lose the capacity to follow a long, intricate line of reasoning. Think about the last time you opened a social media app. Minutes turned into an hour. It is a design feature known as the endless scroll, created with one purpose: to eliminate any natural stopping point. Another powerful tool is the pull to refresh mechanism. It mimics the action of pulling a lever on a slot machine. This small delay builds anticipation. We enter a sort of trance-like state. We are not in control. The algorithm is. It is a sound we all know. A buzz in our pocket, a ping from our laptop, the notification. Even if we ignore it, the damage is already done. Our brain has registered the interruption. This constant decision-making is mentally exhausting. It creates low-grade anxiety. Always on call, never fully present. Our ability to be present is eroding. We're training ourselves to be distracted in relationships, weakening bonds and blocking deep connection. We mistake digital signaling for community, and our mental health pays the price. The modern workplace has become a minefield of distractions. Our days are fractured into 100 tiny pieces. We are not working more effectively. We are just switching between tasks more frantically. Creativity, in particular, suffers immensely. The attention crisis is hitting our children and students the hardest. They are being conditioned by short-form video to crave constant novelty. The slow, patient work of learning feels boring and difficult by comparison. Living in a constant state of high alert, it takes a physiological toll. Our sleep is one of the biggest casualties. Social comparison on social media is linked to rising depression and low self-esteem. We're constantly connected, yet we feel lonelier, more isolated than ever. Our culture is a mirror. And right now, that mirror shows a world moving at a frantic speed. We are witnessing a 15-second culture. Our cultural diet becomes fast food, quick, easy, and ultimately unsatisfying. We are no longer citizens who read the news. We are users who skim headlines. Algorithms prioritize content that is emotionally charged, shocking, or polarizing. We are drowning in a sea of decontextualized facts, opinions, and outright disinformation. We retreat to simple narratives and tribal identities. How can we have a meaningful debate about climate change if we can only think in 280 characters? We are sacrificing wisdom for information and understanding for outrage. The death of nuance is a direct threat to our collective intelligence and to our ability to build a better future together. Amidst the noise and chaos, a quiet rebellion is starting to grow. It is a series of small personal acts of defiance, a fight to reclaim one's own consciousness. This fight often begins with mindfulness. People are retraining their attention muscle, strengthening neural circuits weakened by constant distraction. Beyond mindfulness, people are rediscovering the power of the analog world. They offer an antidote to the fragmented digital life. This personal rebellion is also finding its voice through digital minimalism. They are acts of intentionality, to move from being passive users to active, mindful architects of our digital lives. A movement is growing to change the systems and spaces around us. Some classrooms are implementing strict no phones policies. Progressive companies are creating new policies to foster deep work. Imagine a social media platform that was designed not to maximize your time on site, but to facilitate meaningful connections and then encourage you to log off and live your life. This is about more than just being more productive. It is about reclaiming our ability to think, to create, to connect. It is about choosing depth over shallowness and intention over reaction. In a world that wants to splinter our attention for profit, choosing to focus is a radical act. It is the superpower we must all learn to cultivate and protect. The quality of our life is ultimately the sum of what we have paid attention to. We can live richer, deeper, and more intentional lives. We have a choice. This rebellion begins with small, deliberate acts. It is the courage to embrace silence and boredom, the discipline to schedule time for deep work, and the wisdom to protect it fiercely. In a world of endless noise, focus is a superpower. It is the tool that will allow us to create, to connect, to solve our greatest problems, and to build a future that is not defined by distraction, but by purpose. The fight is difficult, but the stakes could not be higher. It is a fight for our minds. It is time to take them back. In a world of endless noise, focus is a superpower. It is the tool that will allow us to create, to connect, to solve our greatest problems, and to build a future that is not defined by distraction, but by purpose.